Welcome to Cage Minds. I'm Mika Frankl. Whether you're watching or listening, it's appreciated. Like, share, subscribe, rate, and review. Visit the website. It's cageminds.com. Keep up with the social media. Cage Minds Combat Sports News on Facebook. At CageMinds_CSN on Instagram. And at Cage Minds MMA on Twitter. Visit nmproshop.com to support the cause and pick up the merchandise. Or when you're at cageminds.com, you look over to the right on the website, you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the Now Prints link. You click on the image and it'll take you right to where you can purchase the merchandise. So many ways to help and support. And not to mention, if you love listening to MMA podcast, check out MMA After Hours on the After Hours Podcast Network. And if you're interested in the sports entertainment, that's professional wrestling, check out Pro Wrestling After Hours that I do alongside Mr. Michael Carlisle, both a part of the After Hours Podcast Network. And if you're just a general sports fan looking for some more content, also check out Mike Adams 2.0. I'm on there every week playing sports, fact or fiction with Mike, and you can pick up all of those wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, just like this one here, the Cage Minds Podcast. So it's like we're about to talk about Fightapalooza. That's how insane this past week of MMA was. We get started on Wednesday. You had Inivcta FC 46 free on YouTube. How awesome is that? It was a special feature 6-fight card. The last two events, Inivcta trying to regrow the audience, introduce everyone to the new prospects, the new faces of the promotion. In the main event, it's now 2 wins for Karina Rodriguez against Diana Turcrato. Turcrato taking this one on short notice. It's a split decision, but the champion still retains, cementing herself in the division at 10-4. You wonder if Rodriguez is knocking on the door of the UFC. How much longer could she hold on to that Inivcta title before getting the call up? In the co-main event, we also saw a flyweight battle, and maybe Denise Gomez, after her 3rd round TKO of longtime veteran Milana Dudieva, maybe she will be the next one to challenge Rodriguez, and maybe a Gomez-Rodriguez winner gets that magic call. That was Wednesday. Friday morning, you had one championship, lights out. Main event, Gary Tonin challenging Thon Lee for the 1 featherweight championship, and it's Tonin quickly trying to get the fight to the ground. Submission expert looking for the leg lock, as we all expected he would. Thon Lee's able to put pressure on the leg, the right amount of weight, get that leg out of danger, and start dropping bombs. And from over top, it takes 90 seconds, and under 90 seconds, and still champion Thon Lee. And in the co-main event, it was John Lineker challenging Bibiano Fernandez for the 1 bantamweight championship. The champion, huge success early on, getting the fight to the ground, scoring a knockdown, had Lineker in trouble several times, but Lineker was able to work his way back to his feet, and the Brazilian in the 2nd round would put down his fellow countryman with a vicious right hook. Your new 1 bantamweight champion is Hands of Stone. Friday night, you had a ton of events. You had the PFL Challenger Series, the featherweights. Big shout out to Edwin Cooper Jr. Great performance. You had LFA in Brazil. You had Eagle FC 46 in Florida. We'll start off with Eagle FC. The main event, Kevin Lee, Diego Sanchez, super lightweight bout. The first round, with the very first strike he throws, Diego Sanchez takes out Kevin Lee's lead leg. He obliterates the knee. It looks like there's a torn ACL that you would later hear. According to Lee, he felt like something popped, that he was compromised throughout the entire fight. The second round, Lee starts to bust up the nose, gets the takedown. It looks like we're even 1-1 going to that 3rd round. But Lee really was landing some hard strikes in that first round. How would they see it? This 3rd round, it's going very well for the Nightmare. Again, teeing off with the leg kicks, and you could see a tentativeness to Kevin Lee. A lot of pressure coming into this fight. This was built up as the jump off to his campaign of being the most dominant super lightweight in MMA. This was his division. They were making this division for Lee to succeed. That pressure may have been waning on Lee as the leg kicks were piling up, but the right hand finds the mark, a knockdown, and the rest of the round sees Kevin Lee on top. He takes the unanimous decision, but for all the people that thought Diego Sanchez was done, he hung in there till the decision. Yes, he gets knocked down. Yes, he gets a little bloodied up, but when has Diego not got bloodied up? He did a ton of damage, and depending on how the doctor's appointment goes for that knee, we could see Kevin Lee out for a year from the damage caused by Diego Sanchez. In the co-main event, and still your Eagle FC Heavyweight Champion, Rivan Kuniev, makes quick work of Anthony Hamilton, a wheel kick, right hand, knees from the clinch. Hamilton trying to get in on a single leg, looking to be able to clear his head for a moment. Kuniev locks in the guillotine, standing guillotine, forces the tap. It's 10 in a row now for the Eagle FC Heavyweight Champion. Ray Borg makes it 2 in a row since parting ways with the UFC. He gets the takedown in the first round, gets a little busted up in the second. Bandejas landing strikes, doing major damage around Borg's left eye. The right hand and the body shots for Borg make the difference in the third round. The Taz Mexican Devil takes the decision victory. And Hansen Fiera with a great performance, the PFL vet, against Zach Jalisco. And that could lead Fiera possibly into a matchup with Kevin Lee, seeing as they were both there in the super lightweight division on the main card. LFA with LFA 126 was in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and it was a wild week for LFA as Jonas Belharino has to deal with a couple of opponent changes. They end up settling fight week on Jose Delano. Delano unfortunately misses weight, so already in the main event, Belharino only one eligible to win the title. Belharino, it was a surprise to many that he did not get a UFC contract on the Contender Series after his wheel kick TKO victory. The UFC wanted to see a little bit more out of him. Jose Delano would seize opportunity as it knocks. He missed weight, but he shaved every hair off of his body. I'm talking about every hair, reportedly, off of his body in attempt to make weight. He comes forward. He shuts down the space, not allowing the kicker, Belharino, to have any room to operate. Turn this into a boxing, brawling, takedown fest, a dirty, grinded out fight. The first 3 rounds won by Delano. He's cut open with a step-in elbow in the 4th round. Belharino starting to build up the momentum. He's doing well to land and score, feeling the urgency in the 5th round, but too little, too late, can't get the finish. Jose Delano gets the victory in a 5-rounder on short notice. That shows some heart, some cardio. It's a little disappointing that he misses weight, but with the magnitude of the opportunity, how he seized it, you have to figure that Delano is #1 contender. His next fight will be in the LFA, and he'll have an opportunity for championship glory. Now in the co-main event, Eduardo Cavarro had jumped in a couple weeks ago as replacement to take on Gabriel Bonfim. Bonfim, a big overhand right, a combination, the attempted takedown from Eduardo, a guillotine, and that's all she wrote. Gabriel Bonfim, now your LFA welterweight champion, and we know when you get that belt, big things are coming, whether it's Bellator, PFL, or the UFC. Bonfim's little brother, Ismail Bonfim, he gets the victory too. It's a 11-fight win streak overall. The Bonfim brothers, take note, those 2 Brazilians deserve to be on the big stage. And then Eduardo Knives makes it 5 for 5. 5 wins, All 5 for the Brazilian heavyweight coming by knockout. It was a great night there in Rio de Janeiro for LFA 126. A bunch of prospects that I think we're going to see on the next level very soon. And that leads us to Saturday night, where the UFC was once again inside the Apex. It was UFC Vegas 50, the main event. Top-ranked light heavyweights. Could Magomed Ankalaev earn himself a title shot? Well, we'll have to wait and see, but he does get the victory. They go the distance. Thiago Santos still, unfortunately, in moments, looking very gun-shy. It was Ankalaev being the aggressor, moving forward, putting Santos on the defensive back foot. And we know that Santos is alright being a counter-striker, but looked very hesitant throughout this fight. Harder shots landed by Ankalaev in the first round, in my opinion. Santos gets the knockdown in the second round. Had the Russian more hurt than we've ever seen him so far in his UFC tenure. So we're 1-1 going into the third. The third round is close, but again, it's Ankalaev moving forward, landing the bigger, harder shots, putting more emphasis on the more authoritative. Ankalaev with the late takedown capped off the fourth round. The fifth round, Ankalaev was either throwing or controlling Santos against the fence, who just looked hesitant. 78-60 in landing strikes is the advantage for Ankalaev, who gets the decision. But I can't say that this is the kind of performance that has you beating down doors, calling your friends. Did you see Magomed Ankalaev? And we've had those kind of performances out of him before, but tonight was not that night. But with an 8-fight win streak, it may be the time to just say he is the number one contender. The winner of Yuri Prochazka and Glover Teixeira at UFC 275 is going to have to fight Magomed Ankalaev. Maybe you say, hey, Jan Blachowicz had to pull out, and Alexander Rakic needs a dance partner. Ankalaev, you really could earn a lot more favor if you were to take this fight and make a statement that you deserve a title shot. 8-fight win streak. I'm not going to argue if they give it to him, but I'm going to say that there's some people that say that wasn't the performance that deserves a title opportunity. The co-main event, Song Yadong definitely deserves to be talked about, and the 24-year-old is a top prospect, a dangerous bantamweight climbing up the rankings. It's a first-round TKO. Unfortunately, another brutal loss for Marlon Moraes. Yadong 8-1-1 over his last 10. A right hand clips Moraes early, a right cross, left hook, right uppercut, spells the finish. Again, Yadong, only 24 years old. Gotta love the opportunities for him. The sky is the limit in the bantamweight division for that young man. In the featherweight division, we saw Alex Caceres against Sadiq Youssef. Caceres came in riding high on a big win streak in the first round, got around to the back, was trying to initiate the grappling, and had Youssef in some tenuous situations. But the Nigerian would double down on his game plan to just blast away with leg kicks, thwart the movement of Caceres. He wasn't able to get to the head, but could get to the body and get to the legs. Youssef has now won 7 of his last 8 with a decision victory. A brutal finish in the light heavyweight division as Khalil Roundtree gets the second round TKO of Karl Robertson. A back and forth first round. But the second round, it's a left hook, right hook combination from Roundtree. Drops Robertson, who pops right back up for the takedown. Stopped by a knee, dropped on the floor, getting grounded, pounded. Robertson sells out for a leg lock. Roundtree still punching, separates, soccer kick to the body. My gosh, did that look brutal. Robertson, to his credit, also again trying to power his way back up, but meets another Roundtree right hook, dropping to the ground, and that's all she wrote. In the lightweight division, Drew Dober versus Terence Mckinney was too much fun for just one round. Mckinney with a knee to a right hand knocks Dober down. Dober back up, gets knocked down by another knee. Early and often Mckinney going for the knees. Dober back up. Terence Mckinney with the takedown. Dober back to his feet, on his hips, punching his way out, off the get up. You see Mckinney trying spinning techniques against the fence, looking a bit tired. He's starting to drain there. You can see Mckinney not as explosive. Been doing these incredible destructive finishes in the first round over his last 5 fights. But here, he looked to be tiring out a bit. An ill-timed takedown is met by a Dober knee. The ground and pound follows, and Drew Dober with the dramatic comeback victory. The middleweights open up the main card, and this one was better than advertised. At kicks. Alex Pereira early on looking to attack Bruno Silva with a variant attack of kicks, testing out Silva. Silva would attack the takedown. A late flurry from Pereira would steal the first round. Looked like he was finding his rhythm, finding his groove, and letting his hands go. Had Silva in trouble as the round ended. Silva landing his own right hands and leg kicks as we go into the second round. The left hooks and knees from the clinch from Pereira are adding up and doing damage, lighting up Silva when he starts bouncing. The takedown defense will test it early, will put on his butt, but able to get back up, was very much there in the third round. Alex Pereira by the third was lighting up Silva again to end the fight. Throughout the fight, you had to marvel at the toughness of Bruno Silva, but that was showing that the finish was brewing a couple times. Big hooks, step-in knees. Alex Pereira only 5-1. Yes, 2-division kickboxing world champion, transitioning over. The talent is there. The work ethic is there. He's with the Glover Teixeira team in Connecticut, and he's showing a lot of signs of totally being on the right track. Welterweights were in the featured prelim. Matthew Semmelsberger shows us a dynamic to his game that we had not seen previously. It starts off as a slugfest with him and AJ Fletcher. Fletcher, a back take close to an RNC in the first round, had 4 minutes and 30 seconds of control time, but after that, it's Semmelsberger in the second and third rounds utilizing his takedowns, getting to the top. Fletcher did have takedowns, but it was Semmelsberger who was able to get up and able to out-scramble, not to mention Semmelsberger with a big elbow in the third round doing the damage, cutting Fletcher up. The decision victory for Semmelsberger hands Fletcher his first loss. That's now 3 big victories in the Octagon for Matthew Semmelsberger. In the women's flyweight division, J.J. Aldrich versus Jillian Robertson. Aldrich with a slick job stuffing the Robertson takedowns and then doing damage, busting up Robertson around her left eye. Robertson getting so desperate to get the fight to the ground, she's reduced to having to pull guard. A great win for J.J. Aldrich, who made it 3 in a row. Javier Bassarat makes his Octagon debut against Trevin Jones, and Bassarat, creative, loose, flowing striking, hurting Jones to the body with the knee, with the right hand, attacking in the clinch. His knees and his elbows were beautiful. Right high kick, the right uppercut, a nice jab. But Jones was able to counter back with his own jab and made this fight a brawl. Had Javid on the back foot as we closed out the fight. It would have been nicer to see that strategy from Jones earlier. He was successful with it, but it was a little too late as Javid now improves to 12-0. In the featherweight division, Kamala Kirk took on Damon Jackson. Jackson landed hard right hands, gets the takedown to close out the first round. Takedowns, again, seeing his path of opportunity to the victory. Jackson throwing down Kirk to the ground. You saw Kirk threatening with an armbar. Jackson able to shake it off. Kirk turtles up in that knee on the ground position, push to his back. Jackson is able to get under the right arm, wraps up the triangle choke, and gets the submission. 15th submission of his career in the 4th, coming by arm triangle. In the women's flyweight division, the losing streak is over as Miranda Maverick submits Sabina Mazo in the second round. Maverick Went 3 of 4 on takedowns in the first round. Knew right away what her game plan was. She wanted to put the kickboxer on her back. Shut down on her first and second attempts of the second round. We saw a level change at the same time. A takedown came, got the left arm under the Mazo neck as the takedown's happening. Gets around to the back, and the quick submission victory for Miranda Maverick. Cody Brundage defeats Dolce Lungbame with a guillotine in the first round. Dolce underhooking his way out of takedowns, able to land strikes from his knees, put Brundage on the fence, and is lighting up Brundage. About 44 landed strikes in a row unanswered, but then Dolce starts to gas out. A level change to a guillotine and a level change to a takedown that's met with the guillotine, and Brundage gets the first round submission victory. Guido Canetti made short work of Chris Montino. Left hooks, and more left hooks. Then alternating some hooks to finish a quick and ferocious aggressive assault from Canetti. And Asmat Maranikhanov survives a rough first round against Tafwan Njikwe. We saw that Asmat came out hard early, landing some big solo strikes. But then started to wane as the top one pressure would start to build, moving forward, landing his strikes. And then in the third round, before we know it, a jump knee causes the knockout. Asmat Maranikhanov with a third round knockout victory. Beautiful stuff. Khalil Roundtree, Cody Brundage, Song Yadong, and Asmat Maranikhanov pick up the performance of the night bonuses. Also Saturday night, there was Bellator action. Bellator 276. Adam Boras, Mads Burnell in the main event, who would earn a future featherweight title opportunity. A close first round, but it's Boras, the Hungarian, landing some harder shots, sneaking in the head kick. Again, the harder shots, the more aggression coming from Boras in the second. Burnell is finally able to cash in on the body shots that he's landing in the third round, where Boras comes back, landing damaging rights. Burnell showing the damage to his left eye in the fourth, and Boras keeps up that momentum, really turned it on in the fifth round. The decision victory goes from Adam Boras. He earns himself a future title shot, and we've seen now that he's kind of rectified some of the things that hampered him against Darian Caldwell. It was a loss against a specialist, but you've seen now in the 4-fight win streak, Boras really be able to put it together. Phil Davis in the co-main event, methodical and dominant on the ground against Julius Iglesias, hunted the Kimura, outpositioned, kept that wrestling ride in, dominant and full of control time. In the feature fight position, we saw Johnny Eblen get the takedown in the first and the third. Jabs and big body kicks. Eblen, still unbeaten, 11-0, defeats John Salter, made the right call out, and should be next in line to challenge Gegard Mousasi for that Bellator middleweight title. And Gazin Rajibavov, with takedowns in the second and third, hands J.J. Wilson his first professional loss in the Bellator cage. On the prelims, best fight of the night that Bellator had, hands down, Alex Pizzoli versus Jose Augusto. Pizzoli got it to the ground in the first, but that was after eating a knee. A flying knee in the second crushes Pizzoli's nose, but Pizzoli is able to get the fight back to the ground in the third. Attacks the takedown. The big sprawl from Jose Augusto. But it's such a hard sprawl. His hips are so far down that you see Pizzoli be able to come around the back. Left arm was already under, and quickly secures a rear naked choke, having the back mount position. So Alex Pizzoli ate some damage, overcomes it. Best fight of the night that Bellator had. Romero Cotton, he remains unbeaten. met the Freddy Sandoval takedown with a well-timed knee. Sandoval sold out for a leg lock. The ground and pound finish goes in favor of Cotton. Cody Law feels like he deserves a bump up in competition. A first round TKO of James Adcock. Two right hands have Adcock's knee dropped to the ground. A left high kick scores the next knockdown, and a right hook gets the finish. Now 6-0 for Cody Law. And Roman Faraldo, the other unbeaten prospect on the prelims, takes care of Kelvin Rafer with a first round TKO, power jab to the ground, and pound finish. Time to turn our attentions over to the news, the notes, the fight announcements. UFC Fight Night on March 26th has seen a change. Abus Magomedov is out, and Ali Shabad Kirev will now be facing Denis Tulian. UFC Fight Night on April 16th. In bantamweight action, we'll see Kevin Kroom against Altalin Jillian. UFC Fight Night on April 30th is going to be headlined by a top 15 bantamweight matchup. Rob Font against Marlon Vera. The UFC 274 card on May 7th has gained the co-main event. Will be at lightweight, Michael Chandler against Tony Ferguson. And in the flyweight division, Arizona's own Tracy Cortez will be taking on Melissa Gatto. UFC Fight Night on May 21st has added Halton Almeida versus Maxine Grishin. That one's at light heavyweight. And UFC 275 on June 11th at middleweight is going to see Robert Whittaker versus Marvin Vittori. And the women's strawweight division, Na Ling against Sylvia Gomez-Harris. Bellator has announced they're returning to Hawaii for Bellator 279 on April 23rd. Bantamweight title, main event, and Bantamweight Grand Prix quarterfinal will see Sergio the Phenom Pettis defending against his teammate Rafian Stotts. Also in a Bantamweight Grand Prix bout, Patchy Mix will take on Koji Haraguchi. In a women's featherweight title rematch, you're going to see Chris Cyborg defending for the second time against Arlene Blenkow. And in women's flyweight action, the former champion Alima Lay McFarlane is returning to action to take on Justine Kish. Now, as far as this week's action, what's to look forward to? Well, you can start out with UFC Fight Pass. Thursday night, they have Cage Fury FC 106, and then boxing Hollywood Fight Night. On Friday, during the day, you have Cage Warriors, and then at night, you have Jorge Masvidal's Icon Fighting Championships. And then Saturday morning, early in the morning, you have Eternal 64 from Australia. Not to mention PFL Challenger Series this week on Fubo, Friday night, featuring lightweights. That's 155 pounds. And Saturday you have the UFC taking fight nights on the road again. First time they're going to London in 3 years. It's UFC Fight Night London. That one actually an ESPN Plus exclusive, starting at 10 a.m. here locally in the Mountain Time Zone. So that's noon Eastern. That is going to be 9 a.m. in the West. You have a heavyweight main event, top 15 ranked fighters. Number 6, Alexander Volkov versus number 11, Tom Aspinall. Volkov, 34 wins, 22 come by way of knockout. He's 8-3 in the UFC. Volkov has grown immensely since I've seen him competing, starting in Bellator at around 220 pounds, now being all of a 265-pound heavyweight. Much more of a plodding, single-strike thrower than he was early in his days, where he was a dynamic kicker with a combination heavy, light, flowy, back and forth style. 40 pounds of muscle will change that style. So now much more of a grappler and a guy looking for the knockout is Volkov, who put on the size, looking to contend with some of these humongous heavyweights the UFC can offer. Aspinall, 100% finishing rate with his 11 wins, 9 knockouts, 2 submissions, 4-0 in the UFC. 3 of the wins coming by knockout in the first round. His hands, his boxing, it's tight, it's technical, and it is heavy. This one, I have a feeling, does not last long. But Volkov is a tricky veteran. 43 fights to his resume. You could see him possibly trying to stifle the power, getting close, drag Aspinall into that deep water. Co-main event, number 7 in the featherweight division welcomes down number 8 at lightweight, Dan Hooker. Allen 17-1, while Hooker 21-11. Hooker 10 wins by knockout, 7 by submission, got up to number 8 in the world at 155, but saw he didn't have the power to compete with Michael Chandler, and his grappling was not top of the line, as many people has not been, against Islam Makhachev. Arnold Allen, on the other hand, 8-0 in the UFC. I understand you have to put in the work. You have to build up the resume at 145 pounds. But with a long hiatus due to this whole COVID plague, it seems to have really stifled the momentum of Arnold Allen, who has incredible low kicks and a high fight IQ. This is definitely going to be a different kind of task, though, taking on a Hooker who wants to get in your face and throw down, has beautiful step-in knees, is a handful for anybody, and has looked to take fights to the ground when he is at featherweight and has that size advantage. The rehydration is going to be pivotal to how Hooker performs on fight night. This one is going to be exquisite of a striking affair. The feature fight has possibly the next big prospect out of the UK. Paddy Pimblett taking on Rodrigo Vargas. Pimblett, a 3-fight win streak, all of them are first-round finishes. His UFC debut was a knockout of Luigi Vandermini, but it did not come without Pimblett getting touched up. Vargas is coming off of a decision victory over Rong Zhu, highly touted, coming into his Octagon debut. A must-win situation for Vargas, who ended a 2-fight skid there. His back, I feel, is still up against the wall here as he's a major underdog. Now, the rest of the card, as I understand it, has changed a bit. I'm just talking about the bout order. None of these fights I'm about to talk about have actually been canceled, but the bout order has been rearranged from where we're going to go. From where I saw it earlier in the day, next we would head to heavyweights. This one also a top 15 contest. Shamil Abdurakhimov at number 10 versus number 15, Sergey Pavlovich. Abdurakhimov, his 3 wins in the UFC, some credible wins. Marcin Tybura, Andrei Arlovsky, Chase Sherman. Well, he has the ability to throw. Look for Abdurakhimov to try to get into the clinch and try to take this one to the ground. Well, on the other side, Sergey Pavlovich, 14-1, that one loss, shooting too high into the sky in his UFC debut, taking on Alistair Overeem. That one will be a test for anybody, but Pavlovich has rebounded with back-to-back first-round knockouts of Marcelo Gom and of Maurice Green. This will be his first fight, though, since October 2019, opting to stay at home also during the pandemic. In the light heavyweight division, Paul Craig, number 9, takes on number 11, Nikita Krylov. Craig coming in 4-0-1 over his last 5, wins over Gadzimir Antagulov by submission. A TKO of the legend Mauricio Shogun Rua, which that one wasn't even close. Best performance of his career. And then the TKO submission victory over Jamal Hill after Hill's arm was dislocated, flopping around as he was stuck in a triangle choke. Well, Krylov, on the other hand, has kind of alternated wins and losses. He came into the UFC very, very young, needed some more worldly experience, left, went and dominated EFN Fight Nights, wanted to return to the UFC stage to capture the world title, but things have not gone as planned. A loss to Milan Bohovic, a win over OSP, losing to Glover Teixeira, beating Johnny Walker, now looking to rebound from a loss to Magomed Ankalaev. But these are all top of the food chain quality fights. This one's going to be a banger. How real is the magic that Paul Craig possesses? Because even when the guy gets hit, has gotten beat up, we've seen him pull out the submissions. I can't underestimate his quality to find a way to win, where we've seen Krylov kind of waver back and forth. But on paper, Krylov does come in with a large striking advantage, in my opinion. Welterweight contest, one of Europe's favorite, Gunnar Nelson, 17-5-1, taking on Takashi Sato, who's 16-4. Polar opposites here. Nelson, 12 submission victories. Sato, 11 knockouts. Both of them, their last 6 wins by finish of obviously their specialties, either hitting the mat or putting the dude to sleep. First time that we're going to see Gunnar Nelson since September of 2019. A lot of time in the lab. How different will he look coming into this one? And for Sato, the unfortunate is that his last 3 losses have all come by way of the submission. So a high probability, if Nelson doesn't get knocked out, that he will be able to get the tap in this one. In the flyweight division, we get the UFC debut of Magomed Ankalaev, 5-0 only, but at least, because I don't think all of its fights are there. According to Tapology, 22-0 as an amateur, several European World Amateur titles to his credit, wins by submission, TKO, and decision already as a professional. Going to be taking on a Cody Dern, who is 1-1-1 so far in 3 trips into the Octagon. A draw with Chris Gutierrez. That was a tough fight with a great kicker. Losing by submission to Jimmy Flick, that does not bode well coming in against Muhammad. And a decision win over Enori Quilin in his most recent outing. Muhammad is a prospect of the highest caliber who is expected to wear that world title one day. That is the caliber of hype this young man comes in with. Turn in early to watch him if he's still in the position that I believe he's in right now. I mean, on the card. In women's flyweight action, you have Luana Carolina taking on Molly McCann. Carolina decision wins over Cochera, Batella, and Lupita Godinez. 3-1 so far in the Octagon. McCann, a bit more experience, 4-3 so far in her UFC stint. Wins over Lipsky, and Lipsky is the one who cemented Carolina. That was, again, a knee bar submission, where McCann likes to do her work on the feet. 1-2 over her last 3, but Meatball always brings the action. In a bout between 2 wrestlers, you're going to see Makwan Americani versus Mike Grundy. 16 wins for Americani, 11 by submission. Grundy, 12 wins, 8 by submission, and also packs vicious ground and pound. That one's going to be a tenacious scramble fest. In the bantamweight division, Jack Shore is going to be taking on Timur Valiev. 15-0 Jack Shore, 3 straight rear naked chokes before back-to-back decision wins so far here in the UFC. And Aliev coming off of decision victories over Martin Day and Raoni Barcelos. Aliev can do it all, but is the much more credentialed and acclaimed striker. Shore will be looking to close the distance and get this one to the ground. In the lightweight division, Jai Herbert versus Ilya Taporia. Herbert, 9 wins by knockout, coming off of a first-round knockout of Kamo Worthy, ending a 2-fight skid, while Taporia, unbeaten, ranked at featherweight, jumping up to lightweight because he hasn't been able to get a fight at featherweight, and the UFC needed somebody to fill in on short notice. Taporia, with those 11 wins, 7 have come by submission, and he's won 3 of his last 4 by knockout, 9 wins coming in the first round. Taporia, if you can't tell, very high on this guy, his Greco-Roman wrestling, and the way that we've seen him be able to implement his striking. In women's strawweight action, Elise Reed is going to take on Corey McKenna. Reed has 2 big TKOs to her resume, coming in a former Cage Fury FC champion, while McKenna a 4-fight win streak, including a decision wins over Vanessa Demopoulos and Kay Hansen in her last 2. She knows how to deal with grapplers. We'll see how McKenna does with a very well-rounded striker. And Nathaniel Wood versus Vince Morales will open up the card. Wood 17-5, 9 wins by knockout, 10-2 over his last 12, and overall, he also has 5 submission victories. Sets 14 finishes, only going the distance 3 times in victory. Gets after it in major way, Nathaniel Wood. On the other side, Morales, 6 knockouts, including in his UFC career, his last 2 wins, a Darko Rodriguez unanimous decision in a first-round knockout of Luis Smolka. Yours truly is going to be on the call for Grapple Fest 2. Watch that pay-per-view at combatsportsclub.com. Be there live. Tickets are available at scanmyticket.com. Got interviews going up this week to preview the event with NG Enterprise LLC head man Nick Gonzalez, and also going to be talking to bare knuckle boxer Chevy Bridges. So a lot to look forward to on the website. Pick up some merchandise at nmproshop.com, and don't forget to check out the After Hours Podcast Network. Thanks for watching.